Hey tubers, it's Ben the Curious Consumer, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about some exciting news that we found on the internet. First off, Nintendo has made a few monstrous announcements. Starting with the Nintendo Switch Lite. Super great, cool idea, small, compact Nintendo Switch that you could take with you, non-removable Joy-Cons, a little bit longer battery life than what you're going to get out of the original Nintendo Switch. Then they've announced the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con colors. There's going to be a couple new colors coming out, which look fantastic. Can't wait to get my hands on those. And then lastly, they made a third announcement, and that third announcement is a new Nintendo Switch, a variation of the base model that has a longer battery life, up to 9 hours of playtime, which is huge over the 4 hours of maximum playtime that you could have gotten out of the older unit. So that got me thinking. Nintendo's got all these great ideas of coming out with newer consoles, new colors, new variations, but one thing they haven't changed too much is that classic Nintendo Switch Pro controller. They haven't changed the color in a very long time. Now they've come out with collector's controllers like the Xenoblade Chronicles controller, like the Splatoon 2 controller, and of course you can't forget the Smash Brothers controller, but we haven't seen too many variations on there. Now I've done a video in the past where I've reshelled a few different controllers to look a little bit different, like the Smash Brothers controller. You can find other controllers on the market too, like the Super Nintendo variant that I've done here. Let's take a look at a new one. I've reached out to my friends at eXtreme, and they were kind enough to send me over a faceplate to change on my Nintendo Switch Pro controller. It is the eXtreme Soft Touch faceplate kit. It's going to give you a front panel and a back panel based on the colors that you choose. There are 12 different colors to choose from. I will leave a link in the description below so you guys can check it out on Amazon.com. There are a plethora of different variants that you can get. A cool galaxy looking one. The one that I picked, it's a carbon fiber faceplate. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to redo my original Nintendo Switch Pro controller. This one I've outfitted with a few other modifications, such as the anti-skid grips here. I did a video on that. I will leave that in a card up above. And of course, I've done the magnetic thumbsticks here that you can actually change. Now, I did do this with the directional pad in the very beginning. I had taken off the directional pad. It just didn't feel as accurate to this controller as the original D-pad felt here. So if I can make a recommendation, I would just do the thumbsticks if you're going to do the magnetics. If you want to see that video, again, I will leave that in the card up above. But let's get into the new eXtreme Soft Touch faceplate variant. So inside the box, what do we get? If we open it up here, as always, they always provide you with a nice little tool kit. You never know when you're going to need these extra screwdrivers, so keep them around. Definitely a good thing to do. And then, of course, you get your faceplate. We can get rid of this box. We don't need that anymore. And here we go. I decided to go with a carbon fiber faceplate. This carbon fiber faceplates look really high quality, and I love the feel of the plastic. It is a nice soft touch, plasticky feel that gives you a very comfortable grip. Nice and soft. You can see the detail here on the controller faceplate. And again, the kit comes with a front plate and of course the back plate, which look really cool. And this is going to look awesome when we put it on my Pro controller here. All right, so let's get started. First things first, you're going to need a screwdriver. I'm going to use my own because my hands are a little bigger than the screwdrivers that they provide, but the screwdrivers that they provide are perfectly fine to do this with. So let's push this off to the side here. And what you're going to do to start this modification is you're going to unscrew the bottoms here. But remember, when you do open up your controller, if there's any warranty that you put on there, it will void the warranties. Okay? So we'll take off the palm grips, put those aside. As you can see here, once you take off the palm grips, it exposes 4 more screws here that we have to take off. That's going to take off the entire back plate. Super easy. So let's do that. Once you get those 4 screws loosened up or taken out, you can actually just lift up on the sides here, and your back plate should lift right off of the controller. So I'm going to put that back plate aside, and that exposes the battery. And again, more screws, 5 more screws to be exact. Those 5 more screws are going to come out. But first, we're going to lift out the battery. Let's put that off to the side, and we're gonna have 5 screws. The reason I use a screwdriver like this, is because of the long neck. And because there are 2 screws, one here and one here on the controller, that I have to be able to reach with my screwdriver. You don't wanna have something too short or too thick. It won't go through there, all right? So 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here at the bottom. It's a little sneaky screw. So let's take those 5 out, and that's gonna loosen up the mid plate. The mid plate is connected to the faceplate. Now that we got those 5 screws out, now the front plate will lift off from the mid plate. You can remove these if you have the magnetics on. If not, no big deal. You can leave those on. It's not really going to make that big of a difference. So all you're going to do is give a little pull. Now, typically, if you're doing this for the first time, there's usually contact tape here, right underneath these 2 sides. There's usually contact tape. And that contact tape makes it a little bit harder to pull apart. So you just got to use a little bit of pressure and you will feel it pop off. Now that contact tape is connected to your rumble motors. So you just got to give a little pressure just to lift those off. Once you lift off that faceplate, remember there is a ribbon located on the left-hand side, right there, you see it? And the best way to take that ribbon off is putting your finger right underneath or using a spudger and just pulling down on the clip. There's a little clip right here. And all you got to do is pull it down. Once you pull that little clip down, right on the ribbon, once you pull it down, like that, the ribbon falls right out. So now you've got your mid plate put off to the side. There's your message on the inside that says, "Thanks to all gamers." If you haven't seen that before, there it is. And now all you have to do is take off this last portion, which is going to be 3, 4 more screws. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Those 4 screws are then going to come off, and that's going to take off your bumpers and all of your buttons. We're going to replace those on the new carbon fiber kit. So let's take those screws off. So now that we got those 4 screws out, we're gonna lift this plate out. One cool thing that eXtreme Rate does provide for you in this kit is extra screws. So in case you do drop 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, I've been known to do that too when I try to rush things. If you do that, they do provide you with extra screws that will help you put it back all together. All right, so now we got that front chip out of the way. We're gonna put that aside. And now we're just gonna transfer over the buttons. And this process can be somewhat confusing, but the beauty part is the cutouts on the inside of these faceplates are exact to what the cutouts are for the buttons here on the Nintendo Pro Controller. That way the buttons don't go in any other way than the way that they're intended. So you'll notice that there's a cutout here, 3 little tabs, 1, 2, 3, 3 little tabs right there, and there are 3 little tabs in that button. So when I put this button into this faceplate, it'll go in the right way. So let's do that. Once you get all those buttons put back in, what I like to do is put the membranes on right afterwards. The membrane kind of helps the button stay in place so it doesn't fall backwards. Once you get all those buttons in place the right way, now you can start replacing the parts and building it backwards, putting it back together the way it was intended to be in the first place. So putting on the front chip on the front faceplate and then working your way backwards. Make sure that you do put all of your parts back in the right way and put the membrane back on. Now, don't flip this over, because my recommendation would be putting the chip back in place before flipping this back over, because then all the parts might fall back out. So let's just put it back into place like this, and you can put a little bit of pressure here in the center, flip over the controller just to see if all the buttons are in the right place or the right array. It looks like we did it. Let's screw it back into place. Remember, on this back plate, 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have to place the mid plate back onto the controller, making sure that this connection is open so we can put the ribbon cable back in before we place this back on. This part is tricky to catch on camera, but essentially what you want to do is kind of like put it in like this so that ribbon cable goes into place, but you're going to have to use your finger to do that. So I'm going to place this on the, move my screws out of the way. I'm going to place this on the table to do this. I apologize if you can't see how I'm doing it. I'm going to try to balance it here so you guys can see. Once you get it into place, all you're going to do is flip that little clip back, and then you can just slide this right back in. Making sure that your thumbsticks go through the holes the right way there. And just make sure everything around the controller fits. Just like that. Once you get it on, just clip it into place. You'll feel the clips clip into place. And now we've got to replace the 5 screws in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so now that we've got the mid plate back into place, that mid plate is back in, we're going to replace the battery. Sliding that in, making sure the contacts are touching the right spots, put the contacts in, and then lastly, we just have to put the back plate on and replace the 4 screws. So we're going to take the back plate like this, and then the main part of the modification is pretty much completed, and you just got to replace the 4 screws. Now that we got the back plate on and the front plate on, we're going to put on the palm grips. Those should slide right into place like that. And let's put these screws back in. The completed soft touch reshell kit. The carbon fiber look, which I really think is awesome. Check that thing out right there. I've also modified this controller with the anti-skid grips here on the sides. As you can see, they actually really help out on those intense game sessions when your hands start to get really slippery. I've also replaced the thumbsticks again with these magnetic thumbsticks. So that's that. That is the completed kit. Doesn't change the functionality of your controller. Feels comfortable. I love the feeling of this plastic. It is really soft. It feels really nice in the hands. And that's the controller, the grips, the thumbsticks, and of course, the faceplate. Check it out online, Amazon.com. Extreme Rates got your back on any of your modifying needs. Well, guys, that's going to do it for me. I am Ben, the Curious Consumer, and I thank you guys for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a big thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once you do that, don't forget to hit that bell somewhere down below here, and it will notify you guys every time we make a new video. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at @B_curious. Don't forget to check out my other channel, The Pinterest Pirates, where my son and I do science experiments, and I've done a couple of other modifications there as well. Again, guys, thanks so much for stopping by. As always, stay curious, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.